there is no question, Alex Pereira, as of right now, is the biggest star in the UFC. I mean, what he's been able to accomplish, moving over from kickboxing to mixed martial arts later in his life, in his mid-30s, has been nothing short of spectacular. But, of course, due to the nature of his skill set, people are bringing up the very fair question, and that is, how would he have fared against a really, really high-level pure wrestler? And of course, the person they bring up in a hypothetical matchup is Daniel Cormier. He was champion of the 205-pound division. He, on paper, would be a horrific matchup for Alex. And I think most people are of the mind that Daniel Cormier would absolutely ragdoll him. The thing that I hear a lot is that the fight between Pereira versus Daniel Cormier would be exactly the same as DC's fights against Rumble Johnson. And I'm here to tell everybody, that's kind of stupid. That comparison is really dumb. Rumble Johnson does not fight anything like Alex Pereira, not even close. And I'm also here to tell you, Alex Pereira would beat Daniel Cormier. I think if they fought 10 times, Daniel Cormier would be lucky to beat him once. And I'm just being completely honest with you, and I think there are a lot of very valid reasons to have that opinion. For starters, let's take a look at DC's fights against Rumble Johnson, and let's see exactly what took place. Because, of course, as we know, Rumble Johnson, he has a ton of power. He's very big, strong. He actually comes from a wrestling background himself, but, throughout the fight, he got taken down, and he got rear naked choked in both fights. But let's see exactly why that happened. Now, it's probably smart to mention for obvious reasons that Rumble comes out and loads up on a big leg kick and DC does not defend it very well. But the first thing you gotta notice about Rumble Johnson, in this matchup in particular, in the very first fight, he actually hurts Daniel Cormier pretty bad with a big winging shot over the top. He then puts a flurry on him, tries to finish DC, but look at his punches. Look how wide and looping they are. I mean, that right there is the number one difference between Rumble Johnson and Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira doesn't throw these huge telegraph shots. His power comes from very, very short punches that do not travel far at all. I mean, that is what makes Alex Pereira so unbelievably dangerous, is that he does not need to wind up on his shots, and it drops guys every single time. I mean, just look at the first sequence they end up on the ground. Rumble hurts him. He walks at DC, then overthrows with a huge right hand, knocks himself off balance to end up on the bottom here. So off that sequence, they stay clinched up for a while. They finally disengage, and then again, Rumble just goes back to swinging these haymakers right in front of DC, and it immediately ends in DC ducking underneath one of Rumble's big shots to clinch. But even then, Rumble is still able to defend from there. But as you can see, Rumble is not trying to maintain distance. I mean, he's not trying to make DC walk into any shot. He's not even trying to set up any of these punches. He is just unloading with everything he has with big telegraph shots. And that is not what Alex Pereira does. I mean, it just isn't. For people to be comparing this right here with how Alex Pereira strikes is a little ridiculous. I mean, it just is. The second round starts, and it's more or less the same. Rumble does land another really good leg kick DC does not defend, but, he's throwing these flurries at him. He's spamming body kicks, and they're dangerous because Rumble does have a lot of power, but he's not setting it up. So eventually Daniel Cormier sees the kick coming, catches it, clinches up, and in the clinch, of course, Daniel Cormier is freakishly strong. He lifts Rumble in the air, dumps him, and now he's on top in half guard. And the first thing you got to notice here, look at just how gassed Rumble is. I mean, he is gasping for air. He is so fatigued because, he was unloading in the pocket. There was nothing intelligent about that performance from Rumble. And that is going to be a running theme when we look at this fight and the next one. There's just not a lot of intelligence here from Rumble's game plan. And from off his back in half guard, what Rumble keeps trying to do is he keeps trying to turtle, but he's turtling into Cormier, which isn't really, first of all, turtling in the first place is going to be very dangerous. You're giving up your back every single time, but Daniel is just getting an underhook, getting a cross face, and smashing him over and over again. And because of that, he's not really trying to defend the ground and pound, and, Rumble ends up getting beat up pretty bad from here, eats some elbows, and he's bleeding profusely at this point. But you parallel that with how Alex Pereira acts typically when he gets taken down. Now, when he fought Jan Blachowicz, Jan pushes him up against the fence. They stalemate there for a little while, but he eventually gets the takedown, and Alex does turtle pretty recklessly, I would say. He gives up his back, Jan gets the body triangle, and Alex was in trouble there for sure. But the thing is, that's a 3-round fight where it's a lot riskier giving up rounds, which is why Alex tried to get up and, turtle the way he did. But when he fought Jiri Prochazka in a 5-round fight, he gets taken down with a high crotch, just like Daniel Cormier likes to do it. And this time, though, Pereira stays very, very defensively safe. I mean, that's the number one takeaway from this sequence on the ground, is that Pereira did not take any risks. He mitigated ground and pound very, very well by constantly using frames on Jiri's biceps. And he waited until Jiri tried to advance in position to give him the opportunity to get his back up against the fence and stand up safely. But Pereira was willing to completely ride that round out to stay safe. But then going back to the Rumble DC fight, the 3rd round starts, and you'd hope at this point Rumble would realize, okay, this strategy, it's not really working. I'm having trouble connecting. Daniel's seeing my shots coming, and I am really fatiguing myself, putting everything I have into every single punch. Maybe I should switch up my strategy. Maybe I should hang back a little bit, make Daniel have to come to me to close the distance where I can possibly catch him coming in. You would hope, but he does not do that. The 3rd round starts. He just goes back to swinging wildly. He overthrows on a punch, falls over. Daniel ends up on top in a bit of a sprawled position. And, of course, Rumble is completely fatigued. 100%. He did not manage his energy well at all in any of those exchanges. He lets Daniel Cormier circle to his back where he gets the rear naked choke. All right? So, look, not a great performance, but they fought again. And to save you guys the time, the fight was more or less exactly the same, except Rumble was really pushing Cormier up against the fence, engaging in the clinch, trying to take Cormier down, which, I don't even know what to say about that. But when they were out in the open, it was more wild swinging, running into takedowns. And, of course, the final sequence, Cormier gets a takedown, and Rumble immediately turtles giving up his back. Right? There was no defense to prevent the back take. He gets rear naked choked again. Right? More or less the same. Though I will say, this rear naked choke was not very good. I mean, it is just not cinched up well at all. I mean, I would say Jan's rear naked choke on Pereira that he couldn't even finish was tighter than this. But, that's just, it is what it is. Rumble tapped very quickly to it. Look, my point with all this, with breaking down these two matchups is, it's one thing to say you believe Daniel Cormier will beat Alex Pereira in a mixed martial arts fight, okay? That's one thing I don't agree with, but you can say that. But to say you think the fight's going to look like this, there's just no way. I mean, Alex Pereira does not fight like that at all. Not even close. You cannot say the fight's going to look like that. You can't. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Alex Pereira, he does not overextend. He stays behind long shots, constant calf kicks that you cannot see coming because he's not even turning his hips over to show you he's doing it. So while he's on the outside, constantly peppering your calf, he's fighting behind long jabs, long right hands. He makes you close the distance on him, where he has spooky knockout power, where he does not need a huge lunging right hand. No, he'll knock you out with a super short shot that you just don't see coming. And that's what makes him so dangerous. And now, of course, we have to address the elephant in the room. Daniel Cormier is 5'11", having to fight Alex Pereira, who is 6'4.5", most likely. Right? So, all right, let's see Daniel Cormier's fight against Alexander Gustafsson. This fight was a split decision. Now, Gustafsson's a very good striker, but he does not quite have the power Alex Pereira has, not even close. But let's just see what Daniel Cormier's strategy is. Let's see how he closes the distance and how he gets in on takedowns. The fight opens up. Daniel Cormier shoots in on a takedown, gets to a high crotch, picks Gustafsson up, flips him over his head. Now, it's sequences like this where I can understand why so many people think Daniel Cormier would beat Alex Pereira. He is freakishly strong in the clinch. His high crotches, they're a serious problem. But an issue Daniel Cormier has always had, he struggles to keep up the wrestling round after round after round. He just does. Because in this matchup with Gustafsson, after a round and a half, he did not shoot any more takedowns. He gets this takedown. He holds Gustafsson down for a while. Gustafsson does eventually get back up safely. The second round starts, and DC is really trying to put the pressure, really trying to look for takedowns, but he doesn't get super deep on any attempts, and then he just does not shoot anymore. He doesn't. It's an issue Daniel Cormier has always had. The exact same thing happened in the Stipe fight. Cormier picks up Stipe, dumps him in the first round, and after that there's no more takedown attempts because it just zaps so much energy to constantly be shooting and constantly be wrestling for 25 minutes. And as we know, Daniel Cormier didn't begin training MMA till he was 30 years old, all right? During this fight with Gustafsson, he was 36, the same age as Pereira is right now. And at this point, he could not keep up that wrestling pace. So most of this fight was on the feet. And Daniel Cormier does have very underrated striking. I mean, he does. But he's just kind of marching Gustafsson down. That's what he's doing. He's walking right at him, and he's eating a lot of shots very cleanly. Now, like I said, Gustafsson does not have the power or the accuracy of Pereira. He's a very good striker, but he's not nearly what Pereira is on the feet, and he's catching Daniel very cleanly because Daniel, he has to close the distance, and the only way he knows how is to kind of just march at you. And this is where I really start to see problems with him versus Pereira. I mean, just all these times he's getting tagged. You look at when Alex Pereira fought Strickland. I mean, that was a time we really got to see Pereira deal with someone trying to pressure him, trying to be in his face, trying to overwhelm him, like Daniel Cormier likes to do on the feet. And Strickland, of course, has amazing striking defense. And Alex dealt with it beautifully. He wasn't allowing himself to fully be on the back foot. He was constantly circling, throwing a lot of good leg kicks, and just the entire time looking to set up a shot upstairs. Throwing straights to the body, feinting a right hand, just to land his lead left hook, and it only took one to put Strickland's lights out. So look, of course, I'm sure round one starts, Daniel might just tuck his chin, close his eyes, and just run at Pereira, which is a bit dangerous, but maybe he pushes him up against the fence. Gets the high crotch, dumps him. Pereira's going to stay on his back, he's going to frame, he's going to just stay 100% safe until the fight resets on the feet. Maybe Daniel does it again, but eventually they're going to be on the feet. I mean, it happens in all of Daniel Cormier's fights. They end up on the feet. And I don't like it for DC. I just don't. I think him trying to walk Pereira down is a terrible idea. The calf kick's going to be there all day. Pereira is going to set up shots so much better than anybody DC has ever fought before. And it's just going to take one to put Cormier's lights out. Just one. Look, Alex Pereira is not nearly the wrestler Daniel Cormier is. Not even close. But he's very, very physically strong. And he knows not to put himself into danger on the ground. So sure, DC would be able to get him down in the beginning. He wouldn't be able to do it as easily third, fourth, fifth round. And he's going to have to try to find a way to close the distance. While his calf is constantly getting peppered over and over and over again. And eventually, Pereira is going to find a way to land. And from what we've seen of Daniel Cormier, this is a scary matchup for him. I mean, this really is. Alex Pereira has found a way to transfer his kickboxing base the best way you possibly can in MMA. It's not as simple as just get a hold of Alex and he's immediately going to get taken down. No, you have to set up your takedowns well. And I don't think Daniel Cormier can do that without getting tagged. And I don't think that's an easy fight for Daniel Cormier. I think Alex Pereira has a massive advantage, and I think Daniel Cormier would lose to Alex Pereira.